Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to Photography and Friends Live. We are so excited to have you here. Let's just make sure we are rolling. Oh, yep, we are. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, we're going to get started in 1 minute with the schedule of events, but let me know in the comments, can you hear us? Will and Sam, do a little mic check, make sure that everyone can hear us.
Can you hear us? This is Will and Sam.
Hey everyone.
Oh, I see.
Nice. Awesome. And everyone, while you are here, let us know where you are tuning in from. And while you're at it, what camera do you use for photography or for whatever? And Isabel is in the house. My wife and kids, they're inside watching. They're like, I want to watch
Hi,
Papa work.
Papa.
Wow, Kentucky, Slovenia, Hungary, Vietnam. We got the whole world here. Bulgaria. Wow.
This is awesome. So this is the first time we're doing this on YouTube. And for everyone here watching, you might be new to the Photography and Friends group. You might be a new student of ours. Usually we do this in our private Facebook group that we have for our students. But we decided we're just going to do it on YouTube now. YouTube seems a little bit better for live streams, and we can open up the audience to everyone to enjoy what we're going to do. And so we're going to jump right in. Let me switch my screen around. But yeah, we got people from all over the place. This is super exciting to have more people here today. I think everyone was kind of hungry for a live stream from us. It's been a minute. With the pandemic, you guys were going live like weekly for a while, which was epic. Yeah. And then the past year, we kind of slowed down, and I had 3 kids over the past few years, and it's just been kind of crazy. So. But yeah, we are here. This is Photography Live. So today, let's see, what are we going to talk about? Well, first we're going to talk about what's new. We're going to do our weekly challenge update. We're going to launch our first competition of the year, talk about some free Lightroom presets that you can get, and then we're going to be doing a live Q&A. So first, actually, let's just what's new with you guys? Let's do a little life update from us for everyone who is hasn't seen us live in a while. People watch our classes, but some of those classes we filmed a little while ago, so things have changed.
They're starting to get a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
Sam, what are you?
Well, I always be when people reach out asking me about my Sony or about different things that we talk about in the class. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a couple years ago. But
yeah.
People are asking how you are, Sam.
I'm doing well.
Everyone
we've
loves
been
Sam.
Filming a new course, an advanced videography course, and after sort of the holiday season, Will and I decided to do a little road trip. So we went down to Death Valley in California. We went from below sea level, and then from there we drove all the way up here to June Lake. And yesterday we're at about 11,000 feet in Mammoth at the summit there. So yeah, it's just been a fun week creating stuff, trying new things, sort of new year, new resolutions, trying to be more active, take more photos, try new things, sort of starting the year with a lot of creativity, which has been a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to be here and sort of maybe we can make this a more common thing of all getting together and talking. Obviously might not be in the same room with Will every time, but yeah, it's just fun to chat with you guys and get everyone around the world here to talk with us and talk camera stuff.
Yeah, nice. And Will, before you let us know what's new with you, just if anyone's watching this over on Facebook in the group, we're going to be monitoring the questions in the chat on YouTube. So head over there so that we can see your chats and everything. And we're going to be getting to like just general Q&A in probably like 10-15 minutes. So maybe hold off on any questions that you have until then. But Will, what's up with you?
Let's see. Yeah, Sam just followed up on the last couple days or last couple weeks, I guess. But man, what have I been up to? I'm pushing a little bit more on Instagram. I've been trying to like show you guys a little bit more of my lifestyle photography. I'm getting my website together quite a bit. You could check that out. It's still rough. Let's see what else. I mean, yeah, I think the holidays I kind of shut down for like a month and just hung out and I'm recalibrating. I guess this is now a time as good as any, but I'm going to be launching a YouTube channel for
Yeah.
me, and that will help feed into the classes and Video School Online. And yeah, so later on, I'd like to like interact with you guys and find out what more you'd like to see as far as like my content, because I'd like to have it in tandem with Video School. Yeah, and then I guess we've been working on this advanced videography course for a while. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Other than making reels on Instagram, if anyone's seen those, go check them out.
Yeah, we'll post everyone's Instagram in the chat. And as always, for students who are watching this live who are not students of our classes, the Facebook group is a great benefit of being a student of our classes because we do lots more activities. It's a great place, a friendly place to share photos, get critiques, get inspiration, but also we do monthly Instagram follow trains where people can post their Instagram handles, get followers, and all that kind of stuff. So if you're not a student of our classes, then definitely check those out, either at photographyandfriends.com or videoschool.com. Myself, it's just been kind of the same, being a dad and just trying to balance that life with personal life, with work life. And I mean, the biggest highlight I'll just say from the past few months, photography-wise, was I went to my sister's wedding in Ireland, which was crazy, first of all, right now. But got there, and I wasn't officially the photographer or videographer, but I took some photos, took video, and I just shared the video with them last night, which was fun. So I edited a little highlight video for them, and that was super awesome to share with them. It was kind of a surprise. They knew I was like taking some shots here and there, but they didn't know how epic it was going to be. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, okay, let's get to a couple more updates and things.
I'm trying to answer quick questions on the YouTube as much as I can, but if you want to hold off on your big questions for the Q&A till later, that might be helpful, but I'm trying to keep up with you guys. So yeah, go ahead, Phil.
And hit those like buttons on YouTube. This is a way for us to know if we should do more of these. Obviously, the positive feedback from you will help us be inspired to do more things on YouTube. So, photography contest / weekly challenge update. So for the past year, if you've been in the group, you know that we've been doing weekly challenges. That was awesome. We did a poll like a year and a half ago, and people were like, we want more photo challenges. They're great. So we ended up doing them weekly for the past year, which was very cool. But it also was a lot of work on our end, and it was, I think, beneficial to a lot of people. But we're going to be reverting back to less frequent, bigger competitions. So more excitement, more just a bigger deal. And so with prizes. So the first one is just launched, and this is open again to our students in the group. So it's going to be in the Facebook group. And the first one, this graphic's actually a little bit, this one is an old graphic because it says street and architecture, but really what it's going to be is a street photography competition. Whatever that means to you, it's open. It's a very broad topic, but this is just, the topic is getting out in your city, wherever it is, doing street photography. So it could be of anything that you see in the streets. And the way that you participate is just by posting your photos to the competition post in our Facebook group. And all of those posts, the important ones, as you know, are going to be pinned at the top of the group in the announcements. So we'll be opening that up through February 15th for submissions, and then we will pick our top photos and give prizes. And definitely like your favorite photos that you see, because the student sort of popularity of photos and however many likes a photo gets will sort of play a role in how we decide who's going to be the winner. And in terms of judging, I don't know if you guys have ideas of what we're looking for, but I mean, it's sort of back to the basics of like great composition, lighting, but also storytelling and creativity. Take shots that make us look twice and make us not want to just scroll by it. That's really what we're looking for. Any other advice?
that's such a big part of the street photography, is really capturing those unique moments. While you can take a photo of a road or a street, it's having, that subject, it's having that, that millisecond moment that you happen to capture, that does tell a story. That's, I think, the biggest thing of going out into street photography, is you don't know what you're going to find, and just, trying to find that unique composition and get someone in it, get the lighting, just, it really is an all encompassing subject. It's not just, take a great portrait of a person. It could be a portrait of a person in the street. It could also be a cityscape. It could also be, there's so many different ways to approach it.
Exactly.
So,
and someone I saw asked about how many, please only post one photo. Are kind of, there's rules on the post in the Facebook group, so check it out. But if you post more, we kind of will disqualify people if they're posting more than one photo. There was someone asking about a rubric for like getting
subjective
points and judging, or if it's subjective. I don't really think it would be very easy to do like a rubric to judge a photo. I think it's definitely, maybe unfortunately, it's a subjective critique, but the three of us are going to come together, and how we do it is we look at all the photos, we all pick our favorites, and then we kind of like determine out of those top ones that the three of us like, plus the top student liked photos, which one is going to get the top prizes.
No. And so, we all, I think that's ultimately with photography. We're all photographers. We all have very different perspectives on what a great photo is, but we're all three going to give our input and like sort of talk it through.
We're the judges.
And so it's going to come down to that, but it's impossible to say like, oh, like who used lighting better in this shot, or who used a better composition. It's kind of an impossible thing to really put it's
subjective,
a 1 to 10
for us.
Well, yeah.
All right, so that's the photo contest. That'll be fun. Hopefully we'll do a live stream next month to announce the winner as well. The other thing, fun, exciting thing is, if you've been in the group, you probably saw, or if you follow us on social, that we are releasing some presets for Lightroom. And so these are available to most of our photo students in our classes. If you're in the master class, if you're in my Lightroom class, we've just added them. So you can find those at the end of the courses. I added sections for these presets there. But if you're not a part, you can find them at photographyandfriends.com/presets. And we're going to be releasing one new pack every month this year, which is going to be awesome. And again, free for students of ours, which is super cool. And a big thank you to John Pasquale, a student who just found these before I even announced them, and he started using them. And what we hope in return for giving these out to you students is to share that you use them, tag us on social media, and just let us know that you're using our preset. And pretty cool. So thank you, John, for doing that. Go follow John. A little shout out. But yeah, tag us, tag me and Video School Online, and we try to share as many photos as we can. We get so many tags every day, so I'm sorry if we're not sharing all of your photos, but we try to do that. So free presets every month, so stay tuned. Another cool thing we're doing this year, if you finish a course of ours on most platforms like Udemy, on Video School, you get a certificate of completion. And what we're doing every week is I'm giving away $25 to Amazon for a random person who posts their certificate. And so you could find all the rules about this over on the Video School Facebook page. But basically, you just have to finish a course that week and then post it to the Facebook page. And the past couple of weeks, only a handful of people have posted their certificates, so your chance of winning $25 is pretty awesome. So check that out over at the Video School Facebook page. I'm also posting about this weekly on all of our social media channels, so if you're following us, you'll get that notification. Okay, question, and Will and Sam I haven't talked about this yet, but we have kept the Photography and Friends group strictly to photography. I do not want to open it up to video because I think it opens up a huge can of worms, but I noticed that in the Facebook group, you can create subgroups now. And so my question is, one, do we want to create a subgroup for video creators within the Photography and Friends group? I'm not even exactly sure how it all works and is structured on Facebook. Or do we want to create another Facebook group for video creators? It's something that a lot of students have asked for in the past, is a place like Photography and Friends for video stuff. This is just a question. We'll think about it. If you think if you want to talk about video stuff, let us know.
Stuff, personally,
we do a lot of video stuff.
Yeah, we do a lot of video stuff. So, and we have a lot of video students as well. So, if people want this, let us know in the comments, and I'll probably post a poll in the group. We could just open the Photography Friends group to video stuff, but I don't think that's beneficial for some students.
Yeah, I think I think we should keep it separate somehow, whether it's a subgroup for video or a whole nother group.
Yeah.
But we do have so many video courses, and we're coming out with one that I think focusing on that is something people are interested in. So
yeah, maybe we test it out with and I realize I'm like talking super loud, my clipping, but maybe we started out with like a subgroup in the Facebook group and see how that works.
I agree.
And we'll go from there. Okay. I think that is the last announcement. Let's get to Q&A.
Wow,
a lot of updates.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Oh, one last thing is get more photography resources at photographyandfriends.com. I don't think all of our students know this, but we got so much stuff over there. We've got blog articles, we've got podcasts that we've done, we've got just all kinds of stuff over there. So check it over at photographyandfriends.com. Lots of great stuff there. So let's get to Q&A. Yeah.
Really quick before that, all these things you just talked about are all only accessible if you're in one of our courses, correct? Because we're on YouTube.
Yes.
On photoandfriends.com. It's all
no, but everything else we were talking about, like the contests and the $25 gift cards, being part of the Photo and Friends group. I mean, this is all something that's for students, right? Because we're on YouTube, so not everyone here is necessarily part of this.
Yeah, I mean the contest is for our students, so you have to be a student because we're running that. The way the students post those photos is in the Facebook group for our students. Obviously for the $25 Amazon giveaway, you have to be completing our courses, so that's for our students. And same if we do like a video production or a video subgroup for people, that's going to be for our students. So I think most people are students of ours, but yeah, if you're watching this live on YouTube and you're just a follower of our channel, this is kind of the awesome stuff that we do for our students. Usually we do this in the Facebook group privately, but we're doing it now on YouTube. So definitely do that. I saw a couple people asking about the competition post, like where is it in the group? It is pinned in the group. You got to go to the Facebook group and then just hit at the top of the page. They've changed it. It sometimes says announcements if you're on the mobile app, or it might say featured, but all of those announcements and important things are already pinned at the top of the Facebook group. So check that out. But yeah, like Will said, the Photography and Friends website, there's free tutorials on there, the podcast, that's all open to everyone. So yeah, good point though, Sam. All right. Questions. Let's open it up for questions. If you have questions about photography, hit us up in the comments right now. Hit that like button while you do it.
One real quick for you, Phil, is feedback time on assignments.
Assignments. So if they're talking about the assignments feature on Udemy, what we've done is tried to set this up as a student-to-student feedback. So Udemy has set it up where really they're trying to prompt other students to leave feedback. And as you know, if you go through those assignments, it prompts you to leave feedback to your fellow students. So that's the best way you're going to get feedback. Hopefully other students will see your assignments, and within a couple days or weeks, you'll start to get feedback. Otherwise, probably the best place to post your photos, and it can be those same photos for those assignments, is to join the group on Facebook, post it and ask, because there's a lot more students there that are going to see it and are going to potentially be able to give you feedback there. Speaking of feedback, while we get some questions, the one thing you can do for us that really helps us right now is leave a review for our classes. If you're in our classes, like if you haven't taken the 30 seconds that it takes to just leave a review wherever you're watching them, just please leave a review. I know on Udemy, I think on the course page you can do it. If you're just on your general courses page, there's a button to leave a review and a rating. That super helps us. 1 star, 5 star, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just helps us make the classes better and helps people know if it's the right class for them. So with that,
you want me to start firing off some questions?
Yeah, I'm just gonna let you guys take the next 30 minutes.
This one could be for me and Sam. I need a quick recommendation between a Canon EOS R and a Sony A7c.
Well, the EOS R is a more professional camera. Has a bit more capabilities, but it's such a hard question to answer. It depends a lot on what type of photography you're doing. If you own any lenses already that maybe match one of those systems.
Can I read this quote that I read the other day?
Oh yeah,
about cameras.
I love your quotes.
It's from an article that I read, and I couldn't find the author, but okay. Very few, if any, professional cameras these days are objectively better at taking photos than their rivals. Typically, professionals buy a camera for its features, size, weight, control layout, and to some degree sensor size and resolution, all with the intention that the camera fits their style of photography and their way of shooting, and I would add, and their budget. So there's no better camera. Like, they're all good cameras. It just depends on what level you're at, what style you're at, how it feels in your hands. There's so many factors. So it's very hard to just, and we get these questions constantly. So that's like my big, long around answer. For me personally, I would probably go with the Canon because I like Canon lenses in that sense. And it's a big camera and I'm shooting professional. But if you're not at that level, the Sony's probably better and probably has better low light. So,
Yeah. The C is a great, like, compact little camera. They are both great. There's no way to say which one's better without getting really nitpicky of exactly what you're trying to do. But even at that, if you have a camera already, I would also say that I got stuck in a long loop of thinking I needed a new camera or new lens or new gear or whatever it was, and just went out with what I had and got a bunch of great photos. And it's like, you don't always need to get something new. And I get the, like, constant want of the new tech and the new things or whatever, but just go take photos. That's what it's all about. Go push yourself as a photographer. And 90% of the time, all these cameras are going to be able to achieve great images. Now, of course, there's little things like better ISO performance, higher burst, frame rates, certain things, but for the most part, they're all going to do the same thing. And you just need to know how to read light, get good compositions, push yourself creatively. That's going to make the bigger difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, because that was a quick question. Do you guys think it's worth learning raw therapy before doing a Lightroom subscription? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't even know what that is.
What is raw therapy?
I think it's an app that you use to edit raw photos, and it's like relatively easy to use. You guys never heard of it?
I've heard the name before, but I've never used it. I mean, I think Lightroom is great. It sucks that it's expensive for a lot of people. It's just not worth it. There's other options that you can use. There's Darktable, there's Capture One, there's other whatever built-in editor that can do kind of the basics. But I don't think you need to learn raw therapy necessarily to edit in Lightroom.
Lightroom does a lot more than raw therapy does, I think. Any tips for night photography? Looking at you. Just general tips.
Probably a wider aperture. I mean, it depends if you're doing night photography with no lights around, if you're doing night photography like in the streets where there are street lights. Because
like long exposures.
Yeah,
have
you
a
can
remote.
right.
Use a tripod.
Use a tripod to get it steady. Use a self timer so that when you click the button, it takes 2 seconds to take the photo, because just the act of clicking can cause a little shake if you're doing longer exposures. A faster lens is going to be really great if you're doing more like street photography at night. Just being able to get that shot of the field, lots of light. Knowing your camera, I would really recommend testing how high you can push your camera's ISO. People will tell you what your camera's capable of, but going and actually seeing the difference between one photo at ISO 800, 1600, 3200, 6400, 12,800, see the difference for yourself and see what ISO is going to look good for you and your style photography.
Along with that, there was a question that keeps coming up about tips for focusing during night photography.
Yeah. And this is one case where certain cameras are better than others with focusing in low light conditions.
Autofocus. Yeah.
For autofocus.
Big time.
I mainly shoot manual focus at night just because it's easier for me and I like it more. But there's some cameras that are just going to be really bad in low light. The Sonys and some of the new like Nikon and Canon higher end mirrorlesses are really good as well. But yeah, the autofocusing, if your camera keeps searching and it can't lock focus, it's probably not very good in those settings. So I would just use manual focus and start practicing that a lot, because switching to manual focus is kind of scary and can be really frustrating. But once you get it and you learn how to, get really sharp photos, it just takes that guesswork out of the autofocus. But like I said, some of those Sonys are incredible in low light, getting just spot on focus.
I'm just going to keep rolling through questions.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Next camera, mirrorless or not? How to choose?
I think I default back to your previous statement of what's your budget. And I think mirrorlesses are the way everyone's moving, but you can get DSLRs for so much cheaper these days, and they're still great cameras. So
yeah. And we got speaking of the photography and friends resources, we have the ultimate camera guide that Will put together. It's also part of a course that he did on how to buy your next camera, and it kind of lists all the cameras, where they kind of fit into budget and everything. So if you're wondering about what camera you should upgrade to or what you should buy, definitely check it out. I'll post it in the chat right now.
Okay, here's a big one. What would be the best way to take a picture, let's say, of a tree with the sun behind it and some rays going through the tree, but the tree should have some definition, not a silhouette?
Maybe like how to expose? Are they asking what?
I imagine it's exposure wise. Yeah. Again, this goes back in my sense, like to your style. I think each of us are going to expose differently based on like our artistic style. And this is where like, the technical meets the art, right? The subjectivity versus the like science behind photography. Yeah. So personally, like, I know a lot of people that would just silhouette the tree so that it's just dark and that they can see the cool sunrise and have the exposure in the background. But I also know a lot of people that will blow out the background so they can see the detail in the tree and see the flares coming through. So I don't know. I feel like it's pretty subjective.
But if you're trying to get if they're trying to expose and be able to see some of the tree, you probably don't want to blow out the highlights too much. So you probably want to expose to the highlights, shoot raw, and hope that you can bring up those darks.
Yeah.
That's for me personally. I rarely take a photo where I blow out the sky. It just annoys me.
I do it all the time.
If you're shooting black and white, I think that's way more doable. But if you're shooting color, just start taking some shots, exposed to the sky, and just keep increasing, whether it's your f-stop, your ISO, your shutter, but keep increasing it until you blow out just a little bit of the sky, and then dial it back just a little bit, and just a couple practice shots, and just get right on the edge of being too bright, and then take it in post and see what you can bring up in the shadows.
And shout out to
you can get a lot of noise when you bring up those shadows, so you want to find that fine balance.
And a quick advanced tip from one of our viewers, Ramya, says use photo stacking. Take different exposures, and then in post, if you want perfect exposure for the sky plus the tree, take multiple photos and stack them on top of each other. And we've got lessons in the Lightroom class on how to do that.
Yeah, you have to
YouTube
use
it.
a tripod. Take the exact same frame. Don't move the frame whatsoever to do that.
Hmm.
But I do think the HDR look. I don't know. You can go really extreme with that. So if you
Yeah.
do bracket it, I think being like in the Lightroom class of being a little subtle with it, so you can't necessarily tell it's two images stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, and Don asks, stack your photos question mark. Maybe you're just asking for an explanation of what that is if you didn't understand. Basically, it's taking two photos, same exact shot at different exposures, and then in editing, putting them together and blending them together so that everything has a more flat, or not flat, but a more better exposure. Everything's exposed.
You're effectively doubling the dynamic range because you have one photo that has all the highlights information, and then you have a second photo with all the details in the shadows and the dark spots, and putting them together. So then
Hmm.
you can control both of the highlights and the shadows. But that's also like that requires quite a bit of editing, and it's not necessarily like a single shot, which some purists might get upset of like, is that a photo or is that
Yeah.
a composition?
Shout
The
out
gift
to all 123 people watching us live right now. Thank you for being here live. I don't know if we've probably had this many before, but it's great to see this many people back here with us live today on YouTube. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, I don't know why you haven't yet. So hit that subscribe button because we're going to be doing our live streams here on YouTube. You can get notified. And of course, we're posting all kinds of photography related tutorials, updates, and all that too on this channel. So hit that subscribe button.
the gift card for finishing the photography masterclass question mark. I believe you enter for the gift card if you leave a review. Is that
If
right?
you no, just if you post your certificate of completion to the Facebook page. And there
Oh,
might be a better way that we can figure out how to do this, but I was just trying to find a place where people can always post their certificates. It just has to be done that week, though. So if you finished it months ago, it's not going to be qualified. It's every week a new giveaway for everyone who finishes the class that week.
right. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to keep us on track. Glenn Wooten says, my question about doing photography in foggy/rainy weather. I've been wanting to get out to do some outdoor pics. How do I protect my camera from unwanted moisture getting inside?
Oh, you can bring a plastic bag, and
Cut
it's
holes out for your lens and for your eyepiece.
yeah. Don't just don't switch lenses. Dedicate yourself to that one lens, and then do a circle cutout. Put a rubber band around the sort of outside of your lens, and then on the back end, have the hole. And obviously, do this all beforehand in the dry space of your home, and do it like that. You can also walk around with an umbrella. Just keep the camera under there and uh, protect it like that. So it depends on how rainy you're talking about. But if it's foggy, I would just keep the camera in your backpack until you see the shot, pull it out, get the shots, and then put it away again, just to avoid too much exposure to that. But if it's actually raining, an umbrella or a plastic bag sort of set up around it.
Or have a really nice weather sealed camera.
Or that.
How do you deal with difficult or unhappy clients?
That's a good question. I've never had an unhappy client, so
Oh,
I'm just
well,
kidding. I'm the worst at dealing with unhappy clients because I'm like, want to do it my way. And Will, you
it's a
have a recent story about this, though, don't
yeah,
you?
it's a tricky thing. I've been shooting weddings off and on for like 10 years now, 10 years plus. And I literally this year had my first pretty significantly unhappy client with my photos. It's very case by case. You have to decide how you want to be as a business person, and how you want to handle your raw photography. In this case, I ended up offering every single photo I took unedited as a raw photo to help please my client, which, I think they were happy. They were generally happy beforehand. I think it was just more of a personal, subjective sort of thing with the art. I took I mean, and Phil and Sam will know, like I took a pretty hard, like emotional hit that day for a few. I called both of them and they both like, pumped me up as like friends. So having a network of other photographers that can like, remind you that, it's all subjective. But I think like the base thing is to like, the customer isn't always right, but you can act that way. Like you can always help them get to a place, especially with photography for like weddings or something like that. There's nothing like I can't go back and redo photos, but I can give you more photos and I can offer to do another session with you or whatever I can do to make you feel better. And I feel like approaching it in a positive manner versus a negative manner is like always the best thing to do, and not to blame anything or anyone at all. Because that doesn't help. The best thing to do is like, okay, you're unhappy. Let's find a solution to get you happy. Let's not focus on why you're unhappy, but let's focus on getting you to a point where you are happy enough that we can move on in our lives. I can continue doing photography and you can continue to have a good life. So it's very like dependent on you as a photographer, as an artist, and what your client is necessarily unhappy with. There's also a reason why contracts exists. And there's a reason why you back things up, and there's a reason why you take raw photos so that you have the ability to change these variants later on. I don't know. Is that a good answer? Do you guys have any experiences with bad clients?
I think another end of it is like being a professional photographer is, also being, it's that business side. It's being able to, understand if you do have an unhappy client, to be able to talk to them about, what it is. And sometimes, clients might have ideas of like what's going to make the photo more appealing to them, and they might just be throwing ideas. They're not a photographer, but you can sort of hear them out, sort of maybe try a couple of things they say. But also, if they're not happy, like relook at your photos, take your own ego out of it, and like, you of course have your own style and look, and they've come to you for that. But if they're not happy, like, okay, like without any ego, what can you do to maybe shift that or make it, more towards what they're looking for? And so much of the time, I have my personal projects, I'm going to have complete control. But most of the time I'm working with other people or clients, it's for them. Like, yes, I'm a photographer and I want to be mine, but I'm not quite at the level where I'm a name photographer and I get to be like, well, too bad. This is the same Shimizu photo and that's what you get. Like, I want, ultimately I want to keep working and I want to have more clients. I want to keep working with clients. I want to have good relations with them. So I'm going to, adjust slightly to make sure it, fits what they're looking for ultimately. Because if they don't want it, they're not going to use it. And I'd rather get out there in the world at least, even if it means making it super saturated, even though I don't want it to, or making it, I don't know, whatever it is. So,
it's all personal. All right, here's another one. I know Sam is using Sony. Which was the first lens you bought for it? And what is your lens range? Thank you.
Do we need a camera update chat, man? This is like big right now.
So I no longer.
It's his fault.
Let's all just get it out there.
Okay, I no longer shoot Sony. I went on a camping trip by the coast.
Speaking of moisture,
went on a camping trip on the northern coast of California, and there was a bunch of fog. I had my camera in my backpack, but there was so much fog that I woke up, my entire tent was soaking wet. I went and opened my backpack. It was soaking wet. My camera was soaking wet. And the fog was from the ocean, so it's all salt air. And I opened the lens up, and my sensor was completely corroded, covered in salt. And so my Sony's no longer with us. While I was shooting Sony, though, my first lens, I believe, was the 16-35 2.8 GM G Master. And while I was shooting professionally with that setup, I had the 16-35. I had a 70-200 2.8. We actually, for a little bit, had the 16-35 and the 24-70 f4s, which are great, small, compact lenses. But for my work, I just wanted the 2.8. And then I had the 35-1.4 Distagon, incredible Zeiss Sony lens, the 35-1.4. It's probably one of my favorite lenses to date. And so basically that. I didn't ever own the 24-70, although I've heard great things about it. The 24-105 is also, f4 is a great lens. But that 35-1.4 is just a magical lens, as is the 55-1.8 ZE, I believe.
How many lenses those you still have?
So I sold all of those,
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
which is all gone. I've since switched to the Leica setup, which I have a Leica SL2, and I have the Leica Q, which was my sort of gateway into the Leica realm. And Will and I both work also as professional cinematographers and have done a lot of film stuff, and cinema glass and sort of this other level of, these massive lenses that are all perfectly uniform and are just gorgeous. I think that's what sort of got me to really, I know how absurd it is of just the expense behind Leica, but the quality of glass, once I shot with it, I was in love, and I love it, and it's the best thing ever, and I'm never going back.
Never say never.
Never say never.
I
Nope,
just posted
never
a poll, and you could only put 4 options on YouTube, but I'm asking people what brand they're using. So if you're watching,
We'll
make
have to
sure
check
we got 37 people voting so far. Nikon is ahead.
Nikon, Sony?
I put Nikon, Sony, Canon, and Fuji.
Yeah.
I mean, not many people are going to be shooting Leica, unfortunately, for you guys.
There's
And
no reason
then,
to.
I don't know, Olympus might be another one that's out there. But, and I'm sorry if I'm hurting your camera's feelings if I'm not putting your brand. But if your brand's not on there, post it in the chat. I'd be curious to know what cameras you guys are using.
Yeah.
And post the model in the chat. Let us know. It's always fun to.
I feel like Nikons and Sonys are pretty big in our student base.
I feel like Fuji's are coming up.
Yeah.
Fuji,
Well, yeah.
I always see Fuji's in our group, and I'm like, is it because we in a lot of our classes we were using Fuji's or not? And I did just see that in Japan, Fuji just passed Nikon as the second most sold camera. So it's Canon and now Fuji and then Nikon. A lot of it had to do with their Insta camera with like their kind of like their full Polaroid style camera, but still pretty cool. Because for a while, so update for everyone, because we really need to do an updated photo chat for the masterclass, because people are like, oh, Phil, what camera did you guys pick?
Maybe we should do like a full-blown,
because I'm like, oh yeah, I bought a Fuji X-T2 and then I upgraded to the X-T4 now, and I'm super happy with it. And I was really happy with it because I was Fuji bros with Will, and then he sold all of his Fuji stuff. And I'm like, so, but I'm still using Fuji. But like last year, Fujifilm was like, there was like these articles like, oh, is Fuji still gonna make cameras because they make most of their money in medical equipment?
Yeah. But these are great.
Yeah, I know. Fujis are great. So I'm happy to see they're doing well in Japan, which is a good like precursor to where these camera brands will put their money and stuff. But it looks like Nikon, a lot of Nikon shooters, and Will, you used to be a Nikon shooter.
I was a Nikon shooter.
We both started with Nikon.
Yeah.
I went Nikon, Fuji, Leica. I mean, he went Nikon, Sony.
No.
You had a Canon?
Yep.
Oh wow.
Nikon, Canon, Sony.
All my film cameras are Nikon still.
Yeah.
And we really should do that because next time I see you, Phil, I will have a new camera.
Oh no. Anyway, should we keep going?
What camera are you gonna have?
Keep going. Let's keep going.
Wait, but someone's asking, Will, why did you sell your Fuji?
Oh,
that is a great question.
And do you still have that wide lens that I said I was gonna buy from you?
No, I sold it because did I? I don't know. I gotta look. I don't think I have it. I think you said you're gonna buy it if I couldn't find someone to buy it for full price, which I think I did. So the only reason I moved out of Fuji to Leica was because of my wedding work. Honestly, that was one of the big things for me event wise. I had shot on Sam's Q, and then I was looking for a more solid walk around camera, and I had bought a Fuji X Pro 3. It was fine, but the quality of glass that Leica puts out is, I think, just perfect. It is the best glass, in my opinion, amongst everything. And I'm a professional photographer and cinematographer. Like, the investment in the equipment for me is like worth the money that Fuji or that Leica costs. Yeah. But I think starting out, I think Fuji's like a great system to go from, and I never would have left it if I didn't believe that like I'm a professional. I can upgrade my equipment cash wise to Leica.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the Fujis were not fast enough for me at nighttime. The ISO sensitivity wasn't quick enough to shoot a lot of like receptions, and like I'd shot 2 more weddings at the beginning of like last season, and it just was not there. And I was a second shooter with someone else who was using a Canon camera with a full frame, and their ISO was like on it.
Yeah.
And I was hitting a wall, like creatively and technically. So for me, I was going to move anyway. And I looked at the Fuji full medium format cameras, but they were too slow shutter wise and like movement wise. And so I jumped to Leica because I had experience with it, and they're great. But the price tag is excruciatingly painful.
Yeah, I have one lens.
I sold 2 Fuji bodies and 2 lenses, and was only able to get 1 Leica body and 1 lens.
But isn't it kind of nice to just like simplify and just have one camera, one body, 1 lens, and that's what you're going to use?
Totally. And there's a question later on that I haven't got to. I mean, there's a ton of questions. We're trying to get to all of them as much as we can. But it was, what 1 lens would you bring to shoot a wedding? And for me right now, it's my Leica 24-70 2.8. If you only have 1 lens to shoot a wedding, I would say any 24-70 2.8 across any brand, that's the lens you should take to a wedding, no matter what. But if you only have 1 choice, it would be that. And that's the 1 lens I have for my Leica, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. I went and recorded a YouTube video that none of you will ever see. But I was in like creative rut, and so I went up to Yosemite in the winter, which is the photo I've always wanted to get. And I was in this whole thing of like, I'm going to buy a lens. I'm going to buy like this lens, like try and figure out. I was like, no, I don't need that. So I took 1 lens up to Yosemite, and I got all these photos that I was so excited about. And like, it completely brought me back to like, I don't need anything else. This 1 lens is what I love, and I know that. And had I been switching lenses, had I been doing anything else, it's just like, no, it's like this one thing's great. So yeah, pretty happy.
Man, we have so many questions. Phil, I don't know if you've been keeping up on the
no, shoot. Next question.
Any tips for taking bomb photos in rainy weather? I think we talked about covering the camera.
Covering the camera. I mean, I will say like being smart with it. So if you have like a waterproof bag or something, have your camera in there, and then just find a place like under a bridge or in a doorway or whatever it is. You don't need to be out in the rain to get the shot. You can be in a doorway and then have your subject or model, or like just be shooting out into the rain from the safety of an enclosure that's underneath, some sort of overhang. It's awesome to shoot out in the rain, but at the end of the day, you don't really want to be sitting in the rain with your camera unless you have something like the Leica SL2, which is fully weatherproof. But no, it's most of the time you're going to want to be under overhang. Even the plastic bag thing, I've done that with more so like film cameras and video stuff, and it's cumbersome. It's not the best to, it's harder to work. You can get a friend to hold an umbrella, but even that, there can be, rain splashes and stuff. So I would just, I'd more so walk around with a waterproof bag, keep your camera safe, and get to a place where you can be underneath something, but then be shooting out into the rain.
Any advice for a Canon macro lens?
I think they have their 100 macro,
Canon
which is like
R EF adapter. I feel like 100 millimeter macro lenses are usually a good way to go.
And that Canon 100's like world famous. It's one of the people get really excited about that one. There's also 60 millimeter, I believe that's pretty popular, but yeah.
What is the best way to export your photos for social media in Lightroom? I see that a lot of times when I post photos on WhatsApp, they look fuzzy. Well, any of those things are going to compress your photos like crazy. So keep that in mind, especially WhatsApp.
Yeah.
With Instagram, what I do, I typically export because there's no reason to do 100%. I'll do like 15%. I'll do 72 DPI. And then when I actually put into Instagram, what I do is I sharpen the photo. So in Instagram, there's an option for different effects and things you can do. And I add like 20, 30, I I don't know if it's percent, but 20 or 30 number on the sharpen. And that sort of helps with the Instagram compression, just makes it look a little sharper again. But outside of that, there's no need to export a full res image.
Do you need to be currently taking a course or past courses acceptable for the Facebook group, Phil?
Yes, you have to be a student of ours, but once you're a student in one of our photography classes, and pretty much on any platform, there's going to be instructions for how you join the group. Once you do become a member of the group, you're a photography friend for life. So definitely that's fine. I also saw another chat from, I believe it was Daryl O'Grady, talking about on Video School taking the classes. He wasn't able to get a certificate. Let me know, shoot me a message or an email. You can find that on the site, support@videoschool.com, and let me know what class that was. So sometimes there's classes I haven't set the certificate up for yet. And yeah, on Video School, there's not like a reviewer rating option. So we were asking for reviews before. That's more if you're on Udemy or Skillshare or any of these other platforms. Definitely leave reviews there. But on Video School, yeah, no reviews, but there should be certificates for classes. So let me know if there's a specific class that wasn't working for.
All right, we got 9 minutes left. Let's try and blow through some of these.
9 minutes left, and we have 92 likes. We got 112 people here. I don't know why we don't have 100 likes. So if you haven't hit that like button, slam it right now.
Any advice for finding subjects for content and building a portfolio? I mean, I could talk about this for like hours, but
yeah, that's a good question.
Your close network is the best place to find people to shoot for a portfolio. Friends of friends.
Friends and family.
Friends and family, really the best place to start. We do not have a real estate photography course. That's a question. We talked about night photography tips earlier, so maybe rewind and check that out.
There's a question about viewfinder focus and wearing glasses. So most cameras have a viewfinder focus dial right next to the viewfinder where you can adjust the focus. So if you are nearsighted, that should
and that's called a
diopter.
Yeah.
It'll have a little negative and plus, and just, as you're looking through it, change it, and slowly it should get more in focus. Obviously, make sure maybe your camera's on autofocus and that it's actually in focus. Yeah.
Sam, do you use a Metabones adapter for Canon glass on Sony? How does it perform? I recently switched from Canon to Sony. I'm thinking now uses the Canon lenses and then buy Sony G lenses. We did use, and I still use a Metabones adapter for our Sony FS5 on video, and we use Canon glass. They work great. The autofocus doesn't work if you don't have the right adapter, and it is a little slow.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to do if you switched over and you have Canon glass. But there will be a point that, a huge selling point of Sony is their autofocus. So you're going to lose that with the Metabones adapter. It does still technically, if you have the right one, it will autofocus, but it's pretty bad. But if you have those pieces of glass, keep them until you want to sell them and use that money towards some Sony lenses.
Do you offer courses for Nikon Z6/7 II camera users? We have a Nikon course, but we made that before, I believe, those cameras came out.
Yeah.
We don't have any plans on that. It would be pretty wild if we started doing courses for every camera specific.
Yeah. It's not really what we're trying to do. We also got a question about real estate photography right now, which we don't have a class on. It's one that a lot of people have been asking, and there might be an opportunity in this year to do a pretty cool one. So I know I just chatted back at you that we don't currently, but maybe this year might have a good opportunity to do that one. So yeah.
Recommend for us a better gimbal for beginners.
Well, gimbal's more video than photo.
Yeah,
but
you're not going to use it.
Pretty good.
DJI makes great ones. Honestly, from what I know of most gimbals out there today, you sort of pay for what you get, but they're all very capable, so long as you're not putting more weight than that gimbal can carry. That's the main thing. So
yeah, I got DJI Ronin for heavier stuff. I think Zhiyun makes
Zhiyun's a big one, but I still think the DJI is better.
Yeah.
They have more. Their app and stuff works better.
Yeah.
I'm starting a photo business, and my question is, if I charge for pictures, how do I ask for a deposit? when the client doesn't know how many pictures he will buy? Also, does it mean 2 invoices? I'm not quite sure of that question, but I think for my clients, I give them a specific amount of photos that they're going to get. So there's no question with how many they're going to buy. They're just going to get, like with my headshots, I do 3 photos per look. And I set the price for those. With weddings, I do packages of like 200, 300, whatever. And it is all one invoice. And I use QuickBooks and 17 Hats where you can create deposits within one invoice. So having a CRM, a client management thing, is useful. But yeah,
I
packages.
think that's a good idea, though, too, not to like, I don't know if they're doing portrait photography or headshots or wedding or whatever, but it's probably a better idea to have a guaranteed amount of photos and money that you're going to make rather than hoping that at the end of the day they're going to pick a certain number of photos. Now, if you're doing like fine art or something, that's a completely different type of photography.
That's what I was going to say, is that if it is something where maybe they're not willing to pay for anything until they see the actual photos, say, okay, well, I'm going to charge you X amount to come and shoot these photos. And so that's a set price that no matter what, you're going to make that much money to go shoot the photos. And that they, you figure out a deposit amount, 50% of that that they pay up front. And then after the fact, they pay you per photo. If they're like really tight on that, then like, okay, but you still have to pay me to go shoot the photos.
Yeah. And
then the rest is going to be additional for you.
Do you have a preference for the best artificial intelligence photo editing software?
My brain.
I have, to be completely honest, I haven't used like Luminar AI or these other ones. Photoshop just added a bunch of AI capabilities that I have played around with, sky replacement, these neural filters that can make you look old or young or change your face or whatever. I've played around with, but yeah, I mean, I get ads for Luminar AI all the time, so they're making money somehow and people are liking them, but
I haven't made that jump at all. I mean, I use the tools within Photoshop to like, mask things.
Yeah.
Remove tools.
But yeah, not other than that.
Someone also asked, Nikki asked a question about editing software, what we recommend for beginners. Beginner software. I mean, if you're editing on your phone or something like that, there's some super basic ones that are great, but also have advanced capabilities. The Lightroom mobile app is free, even if you don't have an Adobe account. Some features aren't available, and that's a pretty good one. VSCO is another good one. Snapseed. Yeah, those are good mobile ones. Honestly, I think you're capable of editing with a more advanced program, and you might want to just learn something like Lightroom. And I have a class on Lightroom that is great for beginners, so I think you should check that out and just dive into Lightroom if you can. It's what we all use. If you don't want to pay the Adobe subscription, Affinity Photo is a good one as well, and we have a class on that. But aside from that, I mean, on your computer, I mean, you can use just the Photos app if you have a Mac, and on Windows, gosh, what's like the basic photo
any internal photo editing app?
Yeah, like those are fine just to start using, and all these apps are gonna do your basic exposure, cropping, adjustments. It's only when you really want to start playing with like specific focused edits on one area of your photo or the other that it gets complicated. But I think you can do it, especially if you have the right class to learn.
Yeah. I find it very annoying, the noise of the photos taken with my M50 with kit lens 15-45 at high ISO. Does changing the lens would improve the situation, or is it a camera limit? It's a camera limit. But if you have a faster lens, you don't have to use as high of an ISO. So there's variables there, right?
So yeah, if you're shooting at f5.6, so you have to put your ISO up to 3200. If you were to be shooting with the f1.4, f2.8, you all of a sudden can be shooting at ISO 800, and it's going to look a lot better in terms of the noise.
There's been some questions about mentorship program. We don't have a dedicated mentorship program, but through photographyandfriends.com, Sam and I offer one-on-one coaching at 30 minutes and an hour. We'll go over just your portfolio, or we'll talk gear, or if you just want to talk shop,
I'd be very interested to know
if you guys want
and
mentors.
I had a long conversation with Phil or with Will the other day, and Phil, we should talk about this, but I have a mentorship program, and if that is something that people would be interested in. I mean, we've joked about, photography and friends, like meetups or like doing group things, but I've seen more and more mentorship programs, and I personally think it'd be a really fun thing to do, get a bit more deep with some of our students about this stuff. So
there was a, just we got to put it out there into the universe, and it's going to happen. So there was this, I'm waiting to hear back, but someone emailed me from a safari in Africa asking about some sort of business collaboration. And I'm like, photography and friend trip to Kenya, like next year. Because we have talked about meetups, and obviously during the pandemic, this kind of has shut down a lot of travel, and we're gonna wait till it's all safe for everyone to do it. But it would be lovely to do actual meetups. It's hard enough for the three of us to meet up, though. But someday, I'm talking to the universe. It's gonna happen.
Man, we've hit our hour limit, and there are still so many questions. So
Can we do 5 minutes of just speed questions? You guys good for 5 minutes?
Do you guys have a recommendation for underwater equipment camera?
Aquatech out of Australia makes a wonderful water housing. I had it for a little bit. It works great. It's much simpler and much more economical than most other options.
Or honestly, a GoPro or a DJI action camera.
That would actually be easier.
Mentorship program we talked about.
Kieran asks, I want to do photography full-time. Which one is effective to learn? Getting a classroom or online course? Of course, our photography masterclass is a great place to start. We also have a photography business class that Will taught, which is great. So I would check those out. And of course, all of these classes are on photographyandfriends.com, where you can get the links to those. So check that out.
What's a great starter camera for lens? One that allows you for growth. Honestly, like any of the low-level mirrorless or DSLR cameras from any of the companies are really great starter cameras. It just depends on which system you like, and again, like how you want to handle your hands. I started with Fuji in that world personally. I know a lot of people started Nikon, Canon, Olympus. There's just
I started
Sony options.
Do you guys have a recommendation? I saw someone asking for Sony telephoto lens. Someone asked for surf photography. I think someone else asked about a Sony telephoto lens for something else.
There's a Sigma 150 to 600 that has a Sony mount, and it is a great lens. I have friends that shoot surf with it. It's not super fast or anything, but you have 150 to 600. It's an amazing range for that. If you're going point breaks, if you're going sandbars, like it's a good surf photo lens.
What are your thoughts on medium format, particular GFX 50 from Fuji? I think those are rad cameras. They look amazing, but for events, they're too slow. But for portraits, they're beautiful.
Portraits, landscapes, phenomenal.
Do you guys use Zeiss lenses? We do use Zeiss lenses for our cinematic stuff. Sam and I have our video production company, and we own an Alexa Mini, which is a bigger cinema lens, and we rent Zeiss camera. We rent Zeiss lenses all the time.
Zeiss is right up there with Leica in some of the lenses they've made. And like I said, that Sony 35-1.4 Zeiss is phenomenal.
Which Leica do you have? Sam has an SL2. I have an SL2S. He has a Q. I have a Q2.
I have an M7 film camera.
M7 film camera. He's about to get an M11.
I wasn't gonna say that.
Ayush asked, I don't think we hit this one. Said they charge hourly rates instead of per number of photos, and they're asking, should they do packages with number of photos? I think that's up to them. I mean, I think hourly rates are great too, especially for like maybe weddings. I see a lot of wedding photographers do 6-hour, 8-hour packages or things like that. So I think hourly is fine, especially if you kind of calculate how long it's going to take for you to, how many photos you typically take, how long is it going to take you to edit those photos. But that's also kind of a simpler way for clients too to understand like how much work are they paying for as well.
And an hourly rate for shooting that includes your gear, and then an hourly rate for editing. I think they are different numbers. They can be the same number, but different. And then also when you're editing, then it's like, all right, well, I've spent my 5 hours. So if you want me to keep doing more edits for you, sure, but it's going to cost this much an hour. And you have that already set up beforehand if they keep asking for more.
There's another question about where you sell your lenses. I sell my lenses at keh.com. You can also sell them at adorama.com, or you can go to your local mom and pop photo store, and a lot of times they'll buy used gear too.
You can also do Craigslist. You can do OfferUp. You can do Facebook Market Space. NH buys used gear.
There were 2 more questions that just popped up, and I think we should just end on these. So what do you think about the Canon R5? Haven't used it myself, but all these new mirrorless cameras are great.
Canon and Nikon, I think, are finally at the level where their mirrorless cameras are as good as their previous DSLRs. Like,
yeah, the RF5 is like a super professional level camera.
I see a lot of wedding photographers shooting with that, and the native mirrorless lenses that are still just beautiful.
Yeah, and they're coming out they have all the lenses now. It's not limited in any way for both those systems. So yeah.
And another follow-up, the last question we'll take, Rodrigo asks, can I get excellent focus and sharpness on the Canon T5? And I think we have to tame our conversation a little bit, because there's so many people who have those entry-level DSLR cameras still. And yes, of course you can get great sharp focus photos with those cameras like the Canon T5. There's going to be more expensive, more professional cameras that get you focused faster. Maybe in low light situations, it's a little bit harder. If you're shooting in low light with a high ISO, you're gonna have a lot more noise. But for a lot of stuff, those cameras are going to be great. And it's not like 10 years ago when those were top of the line cameras, people were not taking great photos or not getting sharp photos. It's just, I think we get stuck in this idea, especially when we're talking about these crazy expensive cameras, that you need that type of camera to take great photos, but that's absolutely not true.
Yeah. I have seen amazing photos from T5Is. I've seen horrible photos from R6s and the highest end cameras and Leicas. I take mediocre photos all the time. Yeah. It's all about knowing your tool, knowing how to use it, and really like get out there in good light, get in interesting compositions, get subjects.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. If you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, do that right now. We're going to be doing these live streams, I think, monthly for sure, with the 3 of us. I would love to be doing office hours more frequently on our off weeks too, and they'll all be happening here on the Video School YouTube channel now. Let us know in the chat what you thought. If you're a part of the Photography and Friends group, like, was it cool here on the live stream on YouTube? Did you like it better before when it was in the Facebook group? I honestly don't know if there's much of a difference, but I feel like we got a lot more engagement here on YouTube, and I don't know if it was just people were excited to see us after kind of a break.
I think we live here with our live streams for now.
Yeah, I think we should just move here to YouTube, and it'll be a great free thing for people who aren't in our classes. But if you want to join the class and all of the resources and contests and presets and things we talked about earlier on, you can find that all at photographyandfriends.com. So thank you for being here, everyone. Pat, Glenn, Nancy, NS, Gianluca, Kelsey, Mountain
Anita.
Island Yoga, Wendy, shout out, Rodrigo, Albert. Thank you so much for being here live. Will, Sam, and I are going to be working on an advanced videography class in the next few weeks, so that'll be fun. And yeah, as always, stay tuned in the Photography and Friends group. Leave those reviews on Udemy, and much love.
Thank you.
See you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Cheers.